Hello again. In this video, I'll show you how I make a fixing brow gel that combines the fixing effect to style and keep the brows in place with hydration properties. Please read the post on this formula before making it. I added a lot of information to that post, and you can find alternatives to the ingredients I used. You have the link to the post in the description. I started by making a slurry combining xanthan gum clear and glycerin. I used xanthan gum clear so that the final product would be transparent. If you use regular xanthan gum, the final product will be more opaque. As I mentioned before, in the post you can find alternatives and more information on the ingredients in this formula. In this formula, you'll see later that I combined the gum with carbamide as my two gelling agents. If you only want to use xanthan gum clear, you can. It's important to combine the gum with the glycerin to avoid any clumps or uneven distribution of the gum in the final product. For the final product stability, we need to make sure the gelling agents are both well hydrated in the mixture. Mixing the xanthan gum clear with the glycerin and heating it later will help disperse the gum evenly in the water. To the slurry, I added the distilled water. If you want, you can use aloe vera liquid or hydrosol instead of distilled water. I mixed the slurry with the water, but only later. After heating, the gum will be much more hydrated and disperse in the water. I didn't add the carbamide with the xanthan gum clear because the carbamide disperses better in room temperature water, so I added it later when the mixture was no longer hot. Next, I added allantoin. I aimed to create a brow gel that would not only fix the brows in place but also have other benefits. And allantoin helps to reduce redness and irritation and has a soothing effect on the skin. I added the allantoin here so it could be heated. I covered the beaker in aluminum foil and placed it into a double boiler on medium heat for 20 minutes. Heating the allantoin helps to dissolve it. It should be heated around 50 to 55 degrees Celsius for about 20 minutes. After about 19 minutes, I removed the aluminum foil and stirred everything. At this stage, the allantoin was dissolved and the gum had dispersed into the water. I removed the beaker from the heat, gave it another mix, and let it cool down completely. In this formula, I combined carbamide with the gum as another gelling agent. Only when it had cooled to room temperature, I added the carbamide. Carbamide is a synthetic polymer made from acrylic acid that forms gels and adds viscosity. Carbamide has a smooth texture and it is less sticky than xanthan gum. If you prefer a more natural ingredient to combine with the xanthan gum clear, check the post for more information, or use 1% xanthan gum clear and skip the other gelling agent. It takes time for the carbamide to disperse into the mixture. I did stir it a bit before leaving it for 35 minutes to hydrate. At this point, I added propanediol and a plant-based pentylene glycol, two excellent humectants. Both are much less sticky than glycerin, which is why I combined all three and did not use glycerin as the main humectant. Check the post for alternatives, or use the propanediol instead of pentylene glycol if you can't get it. I left the mixture for 35 minutes to let the carbamide hydrate. It can take anywhere between 15 minutes to an hour. You can check it every 10 minutes or so until there are no clumps and you get the gel texture. Meanwhile, I added to another bowl sorbitol, panthenol, hydrolyzed keratin, green tea extract, hydrolyzed wheat protein, and the preservative. Remember I said that my goal was to create a product with extra properties to nourish the hair and the skin under the brows? All these ingredients help to add this to the final product. For all these ingredients, you can find alternatives in the written posts. I also added alcohol to this formula. The reason I added the alcohol is that in this type of product, you aim for a quick drying effect so that the product will set on the hair or the skin fast and you won't have to wait for it long time to dry. Alcohol serves this purpose and helps the gel to set quickly. To avoid overdrying, I used 30% of the alcohol and combined many hydrating and nourishing ingredients. I set the bowl aside and checked on the first beaker with the gelling agents. The carbomer was hydrated in the first beaker. I checked that the texture and the viscosity were what I aimed for. And then I added the ingredients I prepared in a separate bowl to the mixture. I stirred it all to combine everything and then added the remaining ingredients. The last two ingredients I added were a disodium EDTA, a chelating agent, and citric acid to lower the pH. If you don't have disodium EDTA, you can use an alternative or skip it, but please read the information in the post before you change or skip it. To ensure that everything was well combined, I used a milk frother to mix it before I let it rest and transferred it to containers. All the stirring and mixing creates a lot of bubbles, so it is best to let the mixture rest for a couple of hours before transferring it to containers. This is the final consistency of the brow fixing gel. The final pH should be 5.5 to 6.5. For more information on pH adjustments, check the website. The brow fixing gel is ready. You can either place it in a tube container with a brush on one side, or you can use a small jar. The easiest way to insert the gel into a tube container is using a cosmetic syringe. If you're using a jar, you will need a separate brush to scoop the product and then brush it onto the brow. The brow gel sets very quickly. It is not sticky at all and creates a very thin film on the hair that is invisible. It can hold the brow's hair for many hours. You have all the information, the formula with the amounts, and a calculator in the written post.